In the far future, humanity had reached the stars. They traveled across galaxies, built great stations in orbit of glowing planets, and formed alliances with many different species. One of these great stations was known as Orion 3, a shining hub of knowledge, diplomacy, and discovery. Here, scientists and ambassadors gathered from many worlds, hoping to learn, trade, and solve the mysteries of the universe together. Among the many officers who served on Orion 3, there was a man named Commander Ryan Hale. He was respected, calm, and efficient. Others admired him for his discipline and his steady decision-making. When problems arose, Ryan was the one who found solutions. Yet nobody truly knew him. He lived with quiet routines: wake, work, organize missions, review reports, sleep. His life was neat, structured, and controlled. But inside him was a quiet emptiness, like a room locked away with no light inside. Ryan did not speak about it to anyone. He did not know what caused it. He only knew that sometimes when he was alone, he felt as if he was missing something important, something he had never named, never found, and never understood. He believed that this was simply life, that some people were born with a space inside them that nothing could fill. But everything changed the day Alara arrived. The arrival Alara came from a world named Kavara, a planet known for peaceful culture, soft oceans, and floating cities. Her people looked similar to humans in many ways, but their eyes carried patterns of shifting light, like galaxies reflected in calm water. They were known to be gentle thinkers, deep feelers, and careful observers of emotion. However, something terrible had begun happening to her world. A strange cosmic phenomenon called the Silent Pulse had appeared. It was not a weapon. It was not an enemy ship. It was a wave, silent, invisible, and unstoppable. And wherever it passed, it erased emotional memory. The people who were touched by the pulse could still speak, walk, work, and breathe. But their hearts no longer remembered love, joy, fear, hope, loyalty, or attachment. They lived like shadows of themselves. Alara came to seek help. She stepped off her transport vessel, carrying nothing but a glowing data crystal, and the quiet determination of someone who had seen her world slowly fade. When she walked through the arrival gate, many looked at her with curiosity, but she did not react. Her mind was focused, her mission clear. Commander Ryan Hale was assigned to escort her. Their first meeting, Ryan greeted her in one of the meeting chambers. It was a calm room, shaped with clean glass and soft blue lights. A holographic star map floated above the center table, showing the galaxy's network of worlds and paths. Ryan spoke with his usual steady voice. "Welcome to Orion 3. I am Commander Hale. I will assist you during your stay." Alara studied his face for a long moment before answering. Her voice was soft but strong beneath the softness. "Thank you. I am Alara of Kavara. I came here because your people feel things with a strength we no longer remember. I believe you can help us save what we are losing." Ryan did not fully understand her meaning, but he nodded politely. "You seek scientific support?" Alara shook her head slowly. "No, I seek understanding. We need to learn how humans hold emotions so strongly, how you connect them to your memories. Because on my world, those connections are disappearing." Ryan listened. Something about her words stirred something inside him, like an old thought rising from deep water. He had always been controlled, calm, and silent. But something about Alara's sadness made him feel something stir, like his heart was responding before his mind understood why. Days of learning over the next several days. Ryan accompanied Alara across the station. They visited laboratories, archives, cultural centers, and memory research wings. They spoke to scientists, historians, and psychologists. Alara listened carefully, recording everything with deep patience. Ryan noticed something interesting about her. While she studied the science of memory and emotion, she paid even more attention to how people express those emotions. She watched how humans smiled at each other, how they laughed, how they comforted someone who was tired, how one person's sadness could make another's voice soften. She was documenting not just human knowledge, but the human heart. One evening, as the station entered its artificial night cycle, Ryan found Alara standing in the observatory deck, a large room with crystal windows that opened into endless stars. The galaxy outside glowed like a river of fireflies floating in darkness. Ryan stood beside her. "You have been learning a lot," he said quietly. Alara nodded. "I have learned facts. I have recorded structures of the human brain. I've studied cultural psychology. But that is not enough. "What are you missing?" he asked. She turned toward him, her galaxy-filled eyes reflecting starlight. "I am missing why you care about each other, why you remember with such emotion, why the idea of losing a memory hurts you. My people used to understand. But the silent pulse is taking that away. Once the memory of love fades, the meaning fades. Without meaning, we are only moving bodies." Ryan felt something inside him shift. He thought of his own quiet emptiness, the room inside him with no name. "I don't know why humans care so strongly either," he said honestly. "But we do. Maybe it is something we are born with. Maybe it is something we learn." "I don't know." Ilara studied him carefully. "You feel incomplete," she said gently, not as judgment but as simple truth. Ryan froze. No one had ever spoken of it. No one had even noticed. "How did you know?" he asked quietly. Ilara looked back to the stars. "Because I feel the same. My world is fading and I do not know how to stop it. I carry questions that I cannot answer alone." Then she turned to him again and said words he would remember for the rest of his life. "Maybe I am the question your life kept asking." Ryan felt his heartbeat slow, then deepen, like something was unlocking inside him. "And maybe," he replied, voice quiet but clear, "I am the answer you needed." They did not speak again for a while. They simply stood beside each other, watching the stars pass beyond the station's glass. Neither of them knew that the silent pulse had already begun spreading toward Orion 3. The question and the answer had finally met, but their real journey was only beginning. Life on Orion 3 continued with its usual calm rhythm. Ships docked and departed, ambassadors held meetings, engineers maintained systems, and research teams worked late into artificial nights. Yet within that normal routine, Ryan and Ilara's connection was quietly growing. They did not speak about feelings directly. There were no confessions, no dramatic declarations. They simply understood each other, often without needing words. Something in their silence was soft and warm, like the first light of morning. But, while their world felt steady, a silent danger was moving closer. The same mysterious force that stole identity and emotion from Ilara's home was now heading toward the station. A subtle change. It began with small signs, nothing dramatic, nothing obvious. A technician forgot the name of the person he worked with every day. A pair of friends sat together at lunch in silence, not knowing why they usually laughed. A gardener, in the station's greenhouse, stared at flowers she once cared for, but felt no attachment to them now. Ryan noticed. Ilara noticed. But the others did not understand the danger. The silent pulse was not violent. It was not loud. It was not frightening. It was gentle, like a tide slowly washing memories away. Ilara stood beside a large window in one of the research rooms, her hands folded in front of her. She looked calm, but her eyes, those shifting galaxy-like eyes, held sorrow. "It has begun," she whispered. Ryan felt a heavy stillness in his chest. "Can we stop it?" he asked. Ilara shook her head very slightly. "Not with machines, not with science. We can only slow it. The answer must come from the heart." Ryan exhaled slowly. The solution was something they did not yet understand, but he knew he would stay with her. He would not let her face this alone. Learning what cannot be measured, days passed and the pulse's influence deepened. Ryan and Ilara spent hours in the memory emotional study lab, speaking with scientists, reviewing neurological maps, and interviewing those affected. Some people remembered facts, names, and skills, but could no longer remember why anything mattered. They spoke of their lives as if describing someone else's story. One evening, the lab lights dimmed as the station shifted into rest mode. Ryan and Ilara remained seated at a table covered with star charts, emotional diagrams, and written accounts. Ilara rested her hand lightly on one of the documents, an interview from a mother who said she remembered her child's birth but did not feel anything when she thought of him anymore. The words were simply memories without emotion. "Do you see?" Ilara said quietly. "Memory continues, but meaning disappears. My world is becoming like this. People remember living with each other, but they do not feel why those memories were important." Ryan listened carefully. He did not rush. He did not interrupt. "You believe humans feel differently," he said. Alara nodded. Yes. Humans remember with the heart first. You attach emotion to moments so strongly that even time cannot erase them. That is the strength my people are losing. That is the answer we came here to find. Ryan looked at her thoughtfully. You think emotion is a kind of memory too? Ilara's eyes softened with relief. Yes. Memories stay alive when they are connected to emotion. Without the heart, memory fades into emptiness. Ryan then realized something important, something about his own empty feeling. Perhaps his emptiness came from memories he had never allowed himself to feel. Perhaps he had lived always controlled, always steady, never allowing emotion to shape his life. And perhaps Ilara was the key to unlocking that place inside him. A moment of clarity one night, they returned to the observatory deck, the same place where they had first spoken about their hidden truths. The stars glowed in endless patterns. The universe felt vast and silent, yet alive. Ilara stood close beside him, her presence calm and warm. Ryan, she said softly, the silent pulse is not only my world's problem anymore. It touches this station now. The memories that have meaning must be strengthened before they fade. Ryan looked at her, seeing not her mission, not her sadness, but her humanity within her alien form. How do we strengthen meaning? He asked. Ilara did not answer right away. She took a slow breath. We remember together. We speak our truths. We share what we fear, what we desire, what we hope for. We remind the memory why it matters. Ryan understood. For the first time, truly. He had spent his life avoiding emotion, believing it made one weak or unstable. But now he saw the opposite. Emotion gave memory its power. Emotion made life real. He turned slightly toward her. Ilara, he said softly, I think I understand something now. The emptiness I carried, it was the absence of meaning. Not because meaning was missing, but because I never allowed myself to feel it. Ilara's eyes shimmered like constellations reflecting water. You have been waiting, she whispered, for something to wake your heart. Yes, Ryan said. And you did. There was no dramatic touch, no romantic gesture, just understanding, deep, quiet, real. The silent pulse reaches. Orion 3. That same night, the pulse reached its first strong wave across the station. Lights flickered. Air systems paused for a moment, and many people in the station suddenly felt a distant emptiness, as if they had forgotten something important, but could not recall what it was. Ryan and Ilara rushed to the central hub, where scientists were monitoring the pulse's readings. The screen showed a slow but steady increase in its emotional nullifying effect. The station director stood before them, serious but composed. We will lose ourselves, she said simply, if we do not find a solution soon. Ilara stepped forward. The answer is not in machines or medicine, it is in meaning. The only way to resist the pulse is to strengthen emotional memory. Humans have something powerful, your bonds. You must remember what matters, feel it, hold it, pass it to others. Ryan stood beside her, strong, steady, determined, not just as an officer, but as someone whose heart had awakened. We do not fight this with force, he said. We fight it with connection. The others listened. Something inside them stirred. Not a dramatic awakening, but a soft one, like a candle being lit in a dark room. A new understanding, in the days that followed, Ryan and Ilara began guiding people in simple yet deeply meaningful ways, encouraging them to speak of memories they treasured, helping them describe what certain people meant to them, teaching them to feel before they explain. It spread slowly at first, then steadily, like warmth returning to cold spaces. The answer was not to resist the pulse with strength. The answer was to feel more strongly than the pulse could erase. And at the center of that effort was Ryan and Ilara, he who had lived with an unanswered question, she who had come searching for the answer. They were finding it together. But the next wave of the silent pulse was approaching, stronger than the first, and it would test everything they had learned. The silent pulse had grown stronger. Orion 3, once calm and orderly, now felt tension in the air. Crew members walked with hesitant steps. Conversations started and stopped mid-sentence. People who had always laughed freely now stared at each other in confusion, forgetting why they used to smile. The station seemed haunted not by a monster, but by its own fading memories. Ryan Hale stood in the observation deck beside Alara, both staring at the vast galaxy outside. The stars glittered, beautiful and eternal, yet even their light seemed fragile in the face of the invisible threat moving toward them. Alara's hands rested lightly on the table in front of them. She spoke softly, but her voice carried a sense of urgency. "We have slowed it, but the pulse will test us all soon. The next wave is strong, stronger than anything we've faced. If we fail, it will take more than memory. It will take identity." Ryan nodded. For the first time, he did not feel fear in the usual sense. He felt responsibility, and he knew exactly what he must do. "We face it together," he said. "Not with shields, not with weapons. We face it with our hearts, with connection, with everything that makes us human." Alara looked at him, eyes shimmering with faint light. "Are you ready, Ryan?" He smiled softly. "I have been waiting for this, and I've been waiting for you." Preparing the heart's defense, in the next hours, Ryan and Alara worked tirelessly. They gathered everyone in the station's main dome, a large open area designed for assemblies, with transparent walls showing the endless stars. The plan was simple yet profound. Human emotion would fight the pulse. People would speak from the heart. They would share memories, joy, sadness, hope. They would remember why life mattered, and in doing so, reinforce the bonds that the pulse could not touch. Ryan addressed the crowd first. His voice was steady, calm, and strong, the voice of someone who believed. "Everyone," he began, "we face something unseen, something that tries to erase who we are, one memory at a time. But here is what. It cannot erase our love for each other, our hope for tomorrow, our courage in the face of the unknown. It cannot erase what we choose to feel. It cannot erase the human heart." There was silence. People looked at him uncertainly, unsure how words alone could stop a force they could not see. Alara stepped forward next. "Share your stories. Speak of your joys, your fears, the moments that made you who you are. Do not hide your heart. Let your heart speak for you. Let it fight." And then it began. The wave arrives. A hum filled the station. Lights flickered. The pulse had arrived. Some felt it immediately. Cold emptiness creeping into their minds, shadows brushing against their memories. Crew members stopped in their tracks. Some forgot a task mid-step. Some could not recall the face of someone they had loved for years. Ryan and Alara did not falter. Together they moved among the people. They held hands, they spoke softly. They reminded each person of what mattered most. "Remember," Ryan said to a young engineer, "the first time you built a ship that could survive a solar storm. How did it feel to succeed?" The young engineer blinked. Then he remembered. The pride, the joy, the thrill. He clutched his chest. I remember," he whispered. Alara knelt beside a biologist who had forgotten the smile of her child. "Close your eyes," she said gently. "Feel the warmth of the first laugh you ever heard. Let it live in you. Let it shine." The biologist did as she said, and slowly, a tear formed. She remembered. She felt love again. The pulse tried to push it away, but the human heart fought back. All across the station, similar moments happened. People shared, people remembered, people felt, and every memory strengthened the invisible shield around them. The pulse met resistance unlike anything it had ever encountered. The turning point even. As the station rallied, the pulse was not done. Its waves struck harder, reaching the deepest corners of the mind. Some people could not remember their names. Some could not recall how to smile. Some could not even remember why they were alive. Ilara felt her own memories trembling. She felt the pulse touching the edges of her identity. If it reached her fully, she would forget everything, her mission, her people, her purpose. Rian grabbed her hands. "Do not fight it alone," he said. "We fight together. You are not alone." She looked into his eyes, and for the first time, she truly saw him, not just as a commander, not just as a human, but as someone who had been waiting for the right moment to act. "And you," she whispered, "you are stronger than you know." Ryan smiled faintly. "We are stronger together." He held her hands and led her to the center of the dome. Around them, the people of the station had formed a circle, linking hands, speaking truths, sharing memories. The air was filled with quiet voices, laughter, tears, and the warmth of connection. And then Ryan did something unexpected. He began to speak, not to the crowd, not to the scientists, but to Ilara. "Do you remember?" he said softly. "The first time we spoke here? In this observatory, looking at the stars?" She nodded, eyes wide. "I do." "I told you I felt something missing," he said. "I never knew what it was until you arrived. You were the question my life kept asking, and now I see it clearly. You are the answer I needed." Ilara's eyes shimmered with tears. "Ryan." He squeezed her hands. "We are part of this. Not just the people here, but us. We will remember together. We will hold on to what matters." And in that simple, honest connection, the pulse met its greatest challenge. The human heart triumphs. The waves of the pulse pressed against them like cold, invisible winds. But every person in the dome had one thing the pulse could not erase: human emotion. People remembered what they had forgotten. They remembered friends, family, love, hope. They shared their memories out loud, reinforcing each other's minds. The pulse tried to pull, tried to wash them away, but the strength of shared humanity resisted. Ilara and Ryan moved through the circle, touching, guiding, and encouraging. The pulse's power weakened with every remembered word, every shared memory, every beating human heart. Finally, the pulse receded, slowly, almost imperceptibly. The station lights steadied. The hum of the pulse faded into silence. People wept. They laughed. They hugged, remembering why they mattered to each other. Ilara turned to Ryan. "We did it," she whispered. "No," he said, gently smiling. "You did it. Humanity did it. We only reminded everyone of what they already had inside." And in that moment, Ryan realized something deeper than any mission or achievement. He had found his missing piece. Ilara looked at him, eyes reflecting the stars outside. "And you," she said softly. "You were the answer I needed too." A new beginning after the pulse had passed. Orion 3 returned to its normal rhythm. Ships docked and departed, research continued, and life returned. But everything felt different now. People spoke openly of their memories and emotions. Bonds grew stronger. Connections deepened. Humanity had been tested, and it had triumphed, not through force, but through the power of the heart. Rian and Ilara continued to work together, not just as commander and scientist, but as partners in purpose. Their connection was quiet, unspoken at times, but deeper than anything either had ever experienced. They no longer carried emptiness inside. They carried understanding, hope, and each other. And as they stood once again in the observatory, looking out at the stars, Rian whispered, "Whatever comes next, we will face it together." Ilara nodded, her hand finding his. "Yes, together." The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, full of unknown challenges, new worlds, and mysteries to solve. But humanity had proven one truth. The human heart is stronger than any force, visible or invisible, that seeks to take it away. And in that victory, in that connection, Rian and Ilara found not only the salvation of a station and a people, but the answer to their own lives. The question had been asked, the answer had been found, and the stars shone brighter for it.